Okay, good morning to all. It's a great pleasure to be here. And I will show you how the things start, you know. I am not an electronic wizard, RF communications wizard. So this is the result of the Alexloop of the typical invention of a ham radio, a patched ham radio, that could not be very close to the theory about the RF electronics. So, the idea on this presentation, I think I have a lot of audio here.
Just turn the microphone on the podium away from you.
This way here?
Just on the other side. Just turn it totally away from you.
Ah, great.
No, you're not speaking then, are you?
Sorry?
Are you using the headset for the presentation?
No, I am recording here. I am recording. Hello? Okay, now it's good. So, returning. The idea is to give a lot of fun and to integrate your creativity, to develop things, knowing some basic and trying to do what you can do to research a result. The story began when appears on the market the FT817 from Iaso. It's a very light radio that everybody here probably knows about, the Iaso 817. And I was searching for a real portable and very easy to set up antenna, and I could not find nothing on the market. So it gave me the idea that a concept that here on the radio and radio communication worked for more than 100 years, that is magnetic loop antenna. But to develop a portable one, I would need to break some very hard paradigms. So let's start. Here is I am operating my very first one. This antenna is made with a wood boom, and I have the capacitor on the top, the excited loop at the bottom. That is the thing that we need to have a perfect magnetic loop antenna. So, Alexloop antenna, portable antenna. Here is the concept on 1137 and 42 that you can see here, that this idea to take the magnetic loop antenna to a portable unit, it's not a very from the nowadays idea. This concept exists for a long time, because one thing is very important to know, that the magnetic loop is the most effective small antenna in the world. There is nothing that can be more effective with a so small size. So for this size, it's excellent. So I have started my portable magnetic loops ideas with 17 years ago. Here is a way to prove that I'm the very first one to start. Here I have written on a notebook on 2002 that you can see that I was making my loops under the trial and error procedures. So I need to take a piece of the loop and how it's behavior in the practice and go ahead. Oh, it's long enough, and I put a piece on it and try it again. So I have all the things written here to record any time that I need. Then, the magnetic loop antenna paradigms. What are the magnetic loop paradigms? Are three. The variable capacitor needs every B on the top. So, if you want to make a very perfect antenna, you need to have the capacitor on the top, the excited loop, the small loop at the bottom, and the radiation loop made with a solid conductor. Never use a coaxial cable for the irradiation. So, and the irradiation conductor needs to be soldered to variable capacitor. Never engage it. So, I need to break all these paradigms with the variable capacitor at the bottom, the excited loop at the top, the coaxial cable irradiating loop, and connectors to the tuning box, to the loop. Why I need to break these paradigms? Very easily, because I was looking for a portable, a light and an efficient antenna. So I need to be it rolling. all the antenna is inside here on this little case. The antenna has only 34 ounces, no more than this, the antenna only. So I had developed, as I told you, for my needs. So I need to make a roller that I can roll the radiator to put it back. I need to have contacts, so I use on my antenna golden connectors, to make the losses of antenna the less possible. For the balance to have it in the hand, because this antenna is the only antenna that you can make a hold and tune operation with your thumb. I will show some photos this on the next slides. Here is the requisition for the patent from the portable magnetic loop antenna. As I told you, magnetic loop antenna exists for more than 100 years. So I was probably the first one who bring it to the portable world, or in the portable antenna ham radio world, the magnetic loop antenna. Here is my first antenna. Here at the middle of the photo was my very first one. This one antenna was made with a variable capacitor from 3 to 30 picofarads on 50 centimeters diameter loop. It was very impressive because I was in my work, at that time I was in my work, and I have decided to make a test in 10 meters with a FT817 on my ISO small one on my neck. So one of the first contacts with a guy in Texas, coming with 930, 920, and I'm coming with 910, 95, 910 to the guy over there. So I became very impressed with this. The first contact, I was talking to the US from Rio de Janeiro, was fantastic. So I have developed another models. So then this one, you can see a very interesting way to control a loop. On this time, I take two tubes, I shorten them and make a trombone style variable capacitor controlled by the serrature full of water. Then you press it and you move the capacitor and you change the frequency. So it's a very light one and was the very first water-tuned portable magnetic loop antenna. You know? Because I call it a low-tech solution, because no Arduinos, no batteries, nothing. Only water, serratures, you know. Here another one, a very interesting one. What I decided to do is to take some pieces, you know, I told you that I am here to bring fun to you, to stimulate imagination, okay? The idea is to see here something and duplicate it home and having a lot of fun. So I take two pieces of PC boards, and then I decided to make one using my thumb on the lower part. Let me take something here that can help you a little bit. Okay, it's the handle here. And then there is a very, very thin stick, a wooden stick here, and I press my thumb. With the position of my thumb, I can change here the position of the variable capacitor formed between these two boards, these two DC boards, and I have here a scale of the frequency. You have 40 meters, 18, 21, 28. So this thing here, the weight of this is something like 500 grams, half a kilo. And I could make some very good content at 70 meters with this thing here, okay? And now we have the cool loop. This antenna puts me on the MLA 48. It's a group of students from ham radio in Japan. I have made a trip to Japan in 2015 only to demonstrate this. It's a group only for magnetic loop developers and designers. And here you can see the thing working. And it was a demonstration of Friedrichshafen show in Germany, in Japan, in US here, in Dayton Convention for 2 times, and here at the Pacificon in Santa Clara.
Boa noite, Sebastião. Boa noite, Vira. Boa noite, Marcos. Deixa eu mostrar para você
You know, they are shorted here, on the back, on the
Ela
bottom.
escorrega por dentro da outra. E eu estou fazendo a sintonia com isso. Por isso que eu estou impressionado como é que essa tralha chegou. Se vocês podem ver agora, que aqui mexendo na seringa, para vocês terem uma noção. Olha aqui, a seringa abaixa, pressiona e ela volta. E aí eu estou conseguindo, através do capacitor, está vendo aqui? Olha só, de novo. Tá bom, gente? Eu vou te ligar agora, a seringa na minha mão, controla a frequência de ressonância. Deixa eu abaixar aqui. Então agora dá para ver mais um pouquinho. Aqui e aqui. Eu tenho mais ou menos uns 4 metros de tubo de plástico aqui. Legal, gente? Boa noite, muito obrigado pela atenção. Feliz ano novo para vocês.
Okay. Here is another one. It's a very light one, made with a small capacitor that could make. I use this wood here is made for airplane models. It's very light. Here is another technique that I use. If you see here, I have to use now. I have a limited capacitance coverage on the capacitor, so I put these boards here. You know, and I could change the frequency, the resonance frequency. So these capacitor in parallel, these parasite capacitors, could lower the operation frequency and could go to another band. Here's a very interesting. This one is I put it. Might show how many of us could imagine one day you use a portable radio and talk to another continent, and talk to Australia or talk to Russia. My idea since a little boy is to have something in my hand, something in my hand that could be put in other country, in other continents, you know. So when I was 54 years old, completely 54, I could make this dream a reality. Let me talk a little bit about this. If you can see this antenna was developed to work with a portable radio from something like, I don't know exactly, Albrecht RF Communications is a portable radio that makes 25 to 30 megahertz, 25 to 30, and these ones allows single sideband and FM operation. They are catched up by FCC because it was not be allowed to use it because there are some technical parameters. It's very difficult to find out this right radio. It's a portable one. So here, this coax is really not a coaxial for any use. Then high capacitor. You know, it's a capacitor. It's, you know, everybody knows that the coaxial cable will have a capacitance, internal capacitance. So if you trim it for your size, if you trim it, you can make your own capacitor. So this one was calculated to work between 25 to 30 megahertz. What is the great advantage is because you have 90 degrees revolution on the capacitor, because this one is a butterfly capacitor. So you have 90 degrees to course. When you have 25 megahertz here and 30 here for 90 degrees, it's very easy to tune. It's completely different when you have something like 180 degrees to cover from 7 to 30. You have a long range, you need to have a very, very fine tuning for this. And this one is very comfortable. The other problem that I didn't have an S-meter indicator on the radio. So I need to find out a solution to tune the system. So I need to tune. And how I know about the sending waves? So I have developed with a VU from a Akai tape recorder. I have developed this here, that I have a diode and a capacitor, and when I tune it, I have the maximum deflection of this. So let's go here to see I am here from my balcony, my apartment balcony, surrounded by tall buildings with only 2.5 watts. Look at this. Okay, so this time I have decided to make another thing. I have decided to use PC boards, has the irradiator, radiator. I use two techniques. PC boards soldered each to each other to make 2 meter and something like 3 feet in diameter, and have decided to make a variable capacitor using the water tuning system. You know, and the end of the PC board slides over the other end of the magnetic loop, or the radiation. Then I press here the syringe and change here the position, and I can vary the frequency. So this one. Oh, hey, here's a very interesting idea, because it's I have mounted magnetic loop here inside the taper board. Okay? So I have a acrylic stick passing through at the table here. On this point is the button that I make the frequency tuning. What is the advantage of this? Because you stay here in a swimming pool, a Borland swimming pool, you look like a crazy because nobody knows what you're doing with this thing. What is it? You can see nothing with this, you know. It's completely disguised, it's completely stealth, you know. Here's better to see. This is the stick, the coaxial cable. Here is the tuning button. And the other side is capacitor here. Here's one side, here's the other side of the table. And here's the table. This was another idea. This one was usually this pipe that used on gas to take the heat of the gas to make antenna. What is the great advantages? Because you have two parameters, important parameters to define the efficiency of a magnetic loop antenna. One is the loop size. The loop size, you know, and feet diameter. And the other one is the thickness of the conductor. So these conductors have 4 inches of thickness, and the great advantage is very light. So you can make an antenna. This antenna in 40 meters gives only 1 S units down of a standard dipole. So it's a very interesting result. Okay, it's another idea. It's very interesting to have a concept for a remote tuning of magnetic loop control. I take my care to have a feedback on the tuning, you know, on the cylinders, marking on the scale of the cylinders. So I need to bring this to electronic field. So what I have had here, I have taken this here that you can see. You probably remember this volume control, the first generation of a remote control system, audio systems, that you have a motor here, and you have a potentiometer here. And now this time, the only way to up and down the volume was touching the button on the remote control, and then there is a motor with a filter on the aisle of the potentiometer, and this makes the present. What was my idea? Is take the motor to move the capacitor, and take the potentiometer to give the feedback on a simple meter for what is the resistance. So I'm measuring here. You see here is a small battery. So this battery is in series with the potentiometer, and remotely I have here the control. When I tune here on this button, and I have the feedback on the meter. So I could read the resistance here and transform to the scale of frequency here. It's not very accurate, but can give you a great idea where the exact position that you're going on. You see here. Okay. I have decided to develop a remote control system that with turning the button to the left, on the right to the left. So I have a continuous tuning, and I tune the capacitor, turning from one side and one to the other side, and decide to put it inside a piece of a water tube, a plastic PVC tube. The fixing is this. With this, is it with a PVC bracket and a HD magnetic. The magnet inside the HD, the computers are very, very strong. So I take here the bracket and have is positioned here on the FT817 by magnet force, by magnet pressure. So what do you think about this one? This one is probably, what the hell is this? Okay, I have batteries inside here. You know, I have nickel caliber batteries. So let's suppose that I'm making radio and I'm mounting something like this, and I have a very dark day, no way to use any kind of things to give some charge to the battery. So I took a very, very small hand light, flashlight with dynamometer, what do you call this? Dynamo. So this one is when you press here on this part, you turn here and generate low voltage. So I put this here inside and could give a charge to the control to have more 30 minutes or 40 minutes play with this thing here. Okay, this is the support to use the antenna on my back. Okay. This is probably you know this. This is this kind of light that used for security. They are very good because they are weatherproof. So I have decided to let me see to put a capacitor inside. I have here on this test on on the top of my building, the building that I live. So I have this, I have a capacitor inside the motor, and I have a complete tuning control inside the mouse, inside the standard mouse. I have a 3-button mouse that I have here. When I press the left button plus the center, I have fast down. When I press the right plus the center, I have fast up, and I have a left and right slow, depending on the combinations of the 3 buttons. And I have all the control made with a 555 timer here inside. Here is the mounting that I have used. Oh, okay, here's better to see. I have in-out, I have all the thing here. I have the one is the input from DC, the other one is the input for the system that goes on the top of the building. Here's another control that I have, this kind of galvanometer that when you have plus DC and less DC on one side, the needle goes one side or the other side. This was very good to indicate if the tuning is going up or down. Oh, here is the type that I have developed and presented here 5 years ago at Santa Clara and Pacificon. The first totally remote tuning by application. It's a remote tuning by application, remote control for magnetic loop. A magnetic loop that they have everything here. I have the other model here. Well, here's the last model. Here we go. On this side is the very first one, is the fan. I have made with my friend PU2CLR. The name is Ricardo Caracci. There are a lot of people here that knows Ricardo Caracci. He's a genius in this kind of thing. It's a fantastic guy. He developed this, and this is the last version. This version is very interesting because we have here a scale of bands, 12, 15, 20, and when you press here, you go directly to the band that you want to use. Then you make the fine tuning here on the two bars here. You make the fine and the main tune. We have stopped at this for a very simple reason. It became more expensive than the antenna itself. So, so it makes no sense, you know. It makes something this, but the idea is fantastic. Now, here's the thing that I had prepared. It's some 3 or 4 days before data last year. This is the only antenna that can be rolled, you know. You can roll it because here in the side part there is a coaxial cable around, you know, this fabric here. Inside of this here is the coaxial, only the braid, not the coaxial cable, only the braid, to be flexible. Flexible enough to be carried to any place. You know, you can go to the beach, you can use it. And here you have the frequency. And here, on this corner, you have the excited loop. The excited loop is not a round loop, it's not a round ring, but it's a triangle here. Oh, here's a very interesting thing. If you see here, well, I was beginning to make my electrical experiments. And you remember that I said, I have broken 4 paradigms. 4 paradigms I have broken to make this. So, when I have made this, and I put on pedestrian mobile with a guy in England, I became very surprised. It's okay, I have never think of my whole life to be a manufacturer, businessman on this thing, you know. But what the things occur is that on the terminal point of the time, something like 15 years ago, I am making my QRP operations with a small radio, and I was feeling like I was driving a Ferrari, and all my colleagues are walking by horses, you know. So it's okay. It's time to explore this and to let the people know, you know. So this is the world record. I have here the guy that I had talked with was a G0SBW Tom in England. Here's the confirmation, and here is the Alexloop, a Hall of Fame world record on the HF pack group. The date here is May. I guess it's very small here. Okay. Oh, here's Tom. Here's Tom G0 has to be done. No exactly on the position, but he became impressed, and after some time he gets its own Alexloop. Here is the first commercial loop that I have developed. This one is not this way, it was only 2 parts, and squeezed here is a piece of 3 feet of copper tube. 3.8 inches copper tube. So I squeezed it, put on a box, to put on a box and sell to the people. Here is, when I started to make the other antenna, Steve Silverman, KB3SII, called me because he wants to go to Galapagos Island to make some radio over there and needs to take a plane and was afraid to take his loop made of copper. So I have developed this one. This one is the father of the Alexloop. I was stimulated to create the Alexloop based on the Steve Silver needs for Galapagos travel, meaning the expedition. Okay, here's a typical way to use it. I am seated on a boat, on a globe. Here is the complete box. Here is in the window. And time to take the hand plane to Handventure 2009. I have a very clever product, I need to go there. And the solution was to go to flea market, nothing more than flea market. The first time they have decided to present the Alexloop. And then is the first time I go there, trying to convince the people that the things really works. You know, nobody, you can believe in me, in 2009, nobody knows what is a portable magnetic loop antenna, neither a magnetic loop antenna. You can believe in this, it's totally true. Nobody knows about this. You can see the face of the people. There's a guy that has a hand that saw this and stayed there this way here. I call it something that can help him. Right? The guy says, okay, no. I'm just here wanting to see when you put fire on this and the dog will come here to taste through, you know. Here's the time to take the airplane to Handventure 2010, and my first presentation on a more elegant way inside the W4 booth with Mary, Ralph, and Barry. It's the first time that I have the Alexloop of this shape here. Now, the Alexloop have been published in 13 articles around the world. These are the magazines that bring something. This one, everybody knows this guy here on the front cover, is Joe Washburn, our colleague from what is the name of the Eagle one. Okay, correct, Eagles. Then here on the Spanish magazine, then is in Japanese magazine. This is in German. This is in Germany, July 3rd. This is in Polski, in Poland. This is in QST magazine. Here's Japan. Here's in Switzerland. Here's in Ireland, Japanese. Here's in Slovenia. And here is recently in December 2015 where I was very proud and it was a great honor to be invited by IAESO to expose the Alexloop on the booth at Tokyo Ham Show 2015. They invited me because we supposed that there are more or less 2,000 FT817 users that have an Alexloop on their systems. So I have been there to show the antenna, to have it presented in the booth. Here is one of the photos that was published on 2015 CQ Japan magazine about a system that I have developed. That is a complete system with a tablet running a ham program. This is a drawer. I have here the dates. I have on the system even a small camera on a loose knife to record the axis, you know. Oh, another detail here. I have a drawer. I have a Bluetooth touchpad here. I have the KX3. I have the drawer here with all the things on the top. I have the support for the tablet. I have a very small camera with a wide angle. that's engaged on the band organ. And here, and I have something wrong. It's a video recorded with the... Okay, thank you very much for your patience. So, here is the Alexloop, and here is the portable magnetic loop that I consider an unbeatable solution for the antenna restricted hand, because I have the great pleasure, after making antenna for portable operation, for field operation, I have discovered that I have the great pleasure to have many bales from amateur radios that's completely out of radio for many years, that was moved for condos and something like this, that then returned to the ham life. This gives a great pleasure, you know, because people that would never imagine that they would return to radio anytime anymore, and was coming back with the portable magnetic loop antenna. And here I show how it's simple to use this on a balcony with only a very low-cost clean plastic clean that you can find in any global store or something like this. And here, can this thing scale with this the weight of the antenna. Here's another way that you can make a picnic table support spending almost nothing. Only two plastic ties, one of this metal clamp, a $1 metal clamp, 4-inch pieces that you can make Alexloop support. Here is all the station inside the bag. Here you can see the FT817. You see the Alexloop, the microphone, and the tripod made by Vivitar. It's a very light one. It can go inside the bag. The Vivitar tripod is only to take off the head of the tripod, exactly one like this one. You take out. And here is the weight in grams, 990 grams, so it's less than 1 kilo. And Tanicat 4 ounces. And here, what I said, the lightweight and the ergonomic design allows for a hold and tune pedestrian walk and talk operation. So you can use your tongue while walking and talking. I have many contacts to Slovenia, to Russia, to US with the FT817 holding my neck and walking and talking like a handy-talking, you know. It's very easy. It's the only portable magnetic loop because it makes it why? Because it was designed for this. This was designed for this. It was this the thing that I was looking for. Here's a very interesting way to prove you how it's easy to use as a holding tool. Okay, here it was in Japan at the Alexloop, and on the lower part here, on the right, is Noboru's son from Jacob Corporation. Jacob is one of the largest radio companies company in Japan, and he is a distributor from the Alexloop over there. He's this guy here is the owner of HOR, is a Japanese company that makes this scanner that's very high tech, component radius is delighted by the Coke loop, the high technology loop, you know. Okay, now it's a good part for a start. It's a way that I teach to you how you can make your own loop, spending almost nothing. Almost nothing. If you have a variable capacitor at your home, if you have a 3 feet of coaxial cable, you can make your loop in less than 2 hours. Here's the 3 most important things. Make a ring with the cogs on the moving part. Solve one string and the other part solve the other one. You will make the excited loop 1/5 of the dimension of the main loop. No more than this. Only connected the coaxial cable. There is no polarity. You can say any part that you use. I will say here what you can't make a new loop. What you can't make. What you can't make. First, make any kind of joints on the loop. Many kind. Because sometimes you have a solid material like aluminum, but there is a problem that the aluminum generates, by the contact of the oxygen from the air, generates aluminum oxide. So this creates a resistance on this joint. There is no way to resolve this problem. If you have joints, you will have losses. No, you can invent what you want. So avoid to have any kind of, if you make at home, do not forget to do not make any joints. The other thing that is very important to know is that the small loop must be the most perfect ring possible. There are people that take the loop, the small loop, and sometimes to squeeze it to make the standing wave relation reacts to this point. But when you make this, you rarely can have a linearity, because when you make this, when you squeeze it, you can do it for one certain way. So when you make your loop, ever try to find out a way to have the most perfect ring on the small loop and have the most perfect ring on the outer loop. If you need to squeeze it, if you need, for example, to move it on the main frame, on the main tube, from up and down, there is something wrong. There is only one position that loop can be is exactly on this point. The other important thing to know about loops, that there is a limit on the size of the big loop depending on the frequency. With the Alexloop was calculated by this, remember the try and error method, to get exactly the perfect size to cover 40 meters. When you to go over to 10, so in 10 meters, the Alexloop is still a magnetic loop antenna. If I put more, 3 or 4 or 2 inches to make it bigger, to make it more efficient than 40, the magnetic loop will not more act like a magnetic loop. It will be another thing, but nothing like magnetic loop. We will lose all the physical properties. Now, feeling that Miss Trevor is coming here, I will give my thanks to all the audience. I give my special thanks to my wife Emilia, who is here. Here's a photo. You can see here the photo. The quantity of hair that I had on this time, you know, and for a long time we are together, supporting everything that I, you know. Here is the part that I was waiting for. Questions. The questions and answers. Okay, so I'm ready here to answer anything that you want. The next slide here, we talk about the bibliography. Here are three persons that are real ingenious on this history of the theoretical and the scientific properties of the magnetic loop antennas. That you can consult anytime that you want. They are very clever persons that knows very much on the scientific basis of this. You know. So let's go to the question and answers. May I help you with anything that you need? Any question?
Stand up and speak up. Hi, my name is Wayne. I'm 806 Blue Sky.
106.
My question is this. I think I can find a lot of the answers on your website or wherever. Well, my question, I noticed you have a vertically polarized loop and a horizontal polarized loop. Radiation after it goes up the wavepath doesn't make a difference. But for post-in contact, would you consider the vertical being a horizontal type of pattern or you know what I'm getting?
Great question. Well, the question is very good. It's very easy to understand. When you have the magnetic loop of this plane, you have it acting like a ground plane antenna. You have a vertical polarization like a ground plane antenna, so you will radiate in all directions when you have this way. Okay? So when you have the antenna this way, you have it with the direction on this part of the loop, this and this. So the great advantage that you can turn it. Let's suppose that I have a very strong QRN coming from this side, a very high noisy area, source coming this side, and I have a contact going on. So I can do this and kill the noisy and can have you loud and clear. Sometimes you have something like 90% of reduction of the noise. Is why one of the reasons that people have selected the magnetic loops for high noise environment areas, you know, because to compensate this, you know. Is this that you have?
Yes. Yeah, that's my question. Another question, if I may. I noticed you have a 19 3/4 inch excited loop. Is that 50 ohms? Is it matched to 50 ohms?
Sorry, the maximum? Sorry.
Is it matching to the excited loop?
Yes.
Is it 50 ohms?
50 ohm, yeah. No, it's lower than this.
Lower.
Lower. The impedance is something like 33, 34 ohms. It's lower than this.
Okay.
The impedance over there.
So do you
But
have
this is a case that you can check with the wizards there. You know, they have a more accurate information to you. Any other question?
Just one question, yeah, or one.
Yeah, how high your antenna was when you did the X communicating very long distance?
How is? How?
How high? How high was it?
Great. Okay, now, look. One very important thing that I forgot with your question is very good to talk about is that you do not need more than 3 feet high on a 3 feet loop antenna. It will work perfectly well only 3 feet high because it covers HF band. If you want to think on UHF, VHF, you can think on how higher, how better. But you have this antenna only 3 feet above the ground. Normally, the way that I use it is sitting on a chair with the antenna on my right side, touching the tuning button with my hands, with my fingers. Then I stay there for hours making radio, and I'm sure that makes no difference. The great point to go is something like a saltwater area, or even I have made many tests on not saltwater lakes, and I have fantastic results. Just being beside the water, you know. Only a compliment for your question. When you have the loop, for example, on a building, you can have this way horizontal. is the best position to have on a pillow. When you are on a beach, on open place, you can use it on vertical position because it's the best way to go. You okay?
Yep.
Alex will be in the vendor hall later on. So if you have questions,
Did you get one? No.
yeah, Alex will be here for the whole weekend, and he'll be in the vendor hall tomorrow. So we're going to take a 15-minute break or a 10-minute break here. And if you didn't get your drive, this man in the red shirt here has a drive to give you. If you didn't get a drive earlier this morning.
Thanks for coming. Good to see you.
Oh, you want back your drive. I'm glad that worked out. Here you go.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
What's the lowest frequency you can go with the loop?
The lowest frequency can go to 160, anything.
Oh, you can go clear down to 160?
Yes, but you need something like a 20 meters diameter loop.
Okay, well, I worked out the math on a 6-foot loop.
6-foot loop.
So that'd give you what, 80 meters?
80 meters?
Yeah. 18 feet, 9 inches, and when you bring it around, it's a 6-foot loop.
Yeah. It
And
will
so-
work, but how are you? But the best thing to do, hi. But the best thing to do, we have it more or less with 8 meters in diameter, for 160.
Okay.
Okay.
You've been using QRP radios.
Yeah.
How many watts, if I use a different radio with more watts, how high can you go in wattage?
Depending on the capacitor. The capacitor is a great limitation because
On your design, what happens?
I need a bigger one. I need a much bigger one. Something like this to have 100 watts, like the MFJ. MFJ have 100 watts loop, but have a bigger capacitor.
Okay.
The old Army surplus stuff. I wanted to ask you about the amount of apparatus you had around your tuning capacitor. Doesn't that interfere at some point with the radiating pattern of the antenna?
Sorry?
If you have the Coke cans up there, don't they become basically part of the whole antenna and change the radiating pattern?
The things around the antenna can act on the tuning system and the radiation either, because you must be on a clean space as possible.
Yes. So I was thinking, I said you want to have as little material in that radiating loop. If you have the Coke cans in there, do they become basically something that distorts?
No. I think another way. I think I have this mass improves something that I need to study a little. I need a mass, to.
Okay. Just curious.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All my pleasure.
I'm going to go to your website, research the antenna a little more because I'm into the loop antennas at the moment, but I want to shake your hands.
All my pleasure.
I enjoyed your dissertation here. Just kind of answered all my questions.
Oh,
and what
great.
I can't find out, I can derive from now.
Okay.
You have a website, right?
Yes, it's www.alexloop.com.
Okay.
Okay?
Well, thank you very much. It's so refreshing. So very refreshing.
Okay, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.